Okay, so we already discussed the conservative treatment. Now we discuss the surgical treatment. So surgical treatment includes that first the treatment for that root cause, that is the obstruction in the arteries. So we have already discussed in that in that section. This is our artery, that sympathectomy. Okay, so that sympathectomy sometimes require. You can advise the patient that sympathectomy, and after that, second thing is the amputations. Okay, so amputation means you have to just cut off that part of the body, mostly especially that limbs. So there is two things which you have to keep in mind always, but that amputation is done uh, for that part which is gangrenous, and there is no sign of life in that part, and there is no hope to that it will regenerate or repair will be again. Okay, so that part will be amputated in our body. Either that part has potential risk to damage the 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 whole body, means that is the risk of the life. Okay, so there is two things. One, during while amputation, first thing that to save the limb, and another thing to save the life. Okay, so amputation is done for the two things, to save the limb or to save the life. So you will be, you have to very careful to choose where you are going to do this to save the life, and where you are going to save the limbs. So first thing, mostly in the case of dry gangrene, where only single toe or the single part is one toe or one part of the leg is gangrenous. Okay, and this gangrene is not spreading. Okay, and it this part has not potential risk to the life of the patient. Here you can go with a conservative approach and do the minimal amputations. Okay, so just like if any person has a gangrenous toe or single toe, then you can just remove that single toe. Because if you're not removing that single toe, that in later on that infection may spread, and you have to amputate the complete limb. Okay, so here you are saving the limb. You are doing the amputation to save the limb, complete limb, and you are amputating only the single toe. Okay, and another thing that's where you have to do imputation to save the life is that if suppose a patient have a wet gangrene, mostly in the case of diabetes, the diabetic patient develop the gangrene, that is the mostly the wet gangrene. And it is that gangrene is, because you know that wet gangrene is very spread very rapidly into through subcutaneous plane. It very rapidly spread. So you and it has the generalized features also, that bacterial toxins are developing, are spreading through blood in the complete body, that may lead to the septic shock and the patient may lose his life. Okay, so here you are doing the amputation to save the life. So as much part is gangrenous, you have to amputate that part to 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 limit that infection to spread in whole life. So that's why that gangrene is limited. That gangrene will be limited to that part, and you are saving the life of the patients. Okay, so here you understand where do you take during amputation. You have two things. Keep in mind your things. Two things in your mind, that you have to save the first limb. Okay, and in the limb also minimal amputation is required. Okay, and if the infection is very rapidly spreading, wet gangrene, then to save the life you have to do the amputations. Okay, Next thing is that direct arterial surgery we have already discussed in the case of disease of arteries, that if suppose if there is arteries blocked, okay, that by the embolus, that is maybe the blood clot or any other condition, to so you have to do embolectomy to remove that embolus, or if there is thrombus, okay, so there is you can identify if you are uh, identify the site of the thrombus obstruction, and you have to remove, but through direct arterial uh, surgery, either intraluminal surgery or extraluminal surgery, means your direct thrombo and arterectomy you are doing, or you just open the arteries and removing the thrombus. Okay, thrombolectomy and embolectomy, these are two surgeries which are done on the direct artery surgery. Okay, and sympathectomy is the indirect surgery. Okay, so this kind of the surgical treatment. And one more thing is in the surgical treatment, while you are handling a gangrene, you can see on my screen, this is the case of scrotal gangrene, also called as Fournier's gangrene. Okay, so it is very rapidly spread, means the patient, these all this scrotum can be rotten in the single night, means within 24 hours the gangrenes developed, and it can spread to the complete scrotum, and patient has a generalized symptoms, fever and all that. Okay, so while the doing surgical debridement, you have not you have you just you have to excise complete all dead tissue. Okay, you can see that testes are exposed here, the base of penis is exposed, and we are excising the single bit of that unhealthy tissue, because that in the gangrene, you know that there is two things. One is obstruction, and the second is the infection. Okay, so you have to tackle both things. Okay, where these gangrenes is the idiopathic gangrene, the spontaneous gangrene, there is no exact cause is not clear, how it develops, why it develops, but it develops very fastly, very rapidly, kind of the fat gangrene. So here the infection is the important part. Okay, obstruction is not important. So here you are dealing with a very fast spreading infection, that's why you have to clean complete all unhealthy tissue, and you keep like that. You in the, if we talk about in this particular case, so you just expose the complete skin and all that dead tissue, and you open that you just you can see the testes are exposed. But don't worry, if you continue that antibiotics, and you can leave these scrotum like that for the 3 to 4 days. When this tissue is healthy and start healing and granulation tissues appear, then further you can close this skins. And if you have not sufficient skin, then you can take the graft, means you can take the skin from somewhere from body part and keep here to cover that testicles. Okay, so are you listening?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now come to the management of the gas gangrene. So you know that gas gangrene, here is the most important part, is the infection of that clostridial. Okay, so this condition developed due to the clostridial infection, uh, followed by followed in the any that massive trauma of the muscles, the limbs. So here there is some if you are having any patients which have a massive trauma, and you can anticipate that this patient may can develop that and the wound is contaminated with the soil, so you can anticipate that this patient may develop the gas gangrene in later conditions. So in that case, you have to do some prophylaxis, just like the tetanus. Tetanus, you there is the serums are there, anti-gas gangrene serums are there, so you can inject this as a prophylactically, so your patient will not develop that gas gangrene. So and so along with these medicines, these serums, you must means take the measures to preventive measures to not to develop the gas gangrene. How you can measure take you if your wound is contaminated with soil, then you have to clean completely. Okay, that wound it should be clean all that contaminations. So clean thoroughly your wound, and administration of the high dose of penicillins, that is the 2 gram per 4 hours. I through IV route. Means you have to inject. Nowadays you can use that amoxicillin and along with the sulbactam. Okay, it means broad spectrum antibiotics. uh, and if you are using, suppose if somebody has cut the limbs, so in that part you may require to use the tourniquet to stop the bleeding in emergency conditions. So you just use, if you are using the tourniquet, then within timely you have to remove it and you have to replace it. Means and if better if you avoid tourniquet, because tourniquet close stop the complete blood supply, so that tissue go into a ischemia, and so it get favorable condition to develop that gas gangrene, because that clostridium bacteria cannot be grow in the healthy tissue. So it gets favorable environment for the development of the gas gangrene. So better you avoid that tourniquet. And if you are using the tourniquet, then you can you have to within timely you have to replace, you have to relax it, so you use the tourniquet only traveling of the patient from the site of the accident or the injury to the hospitals. In the hospital, if a patient in the hospital, then avoid to use the tourniquets. Okay, and you can give the anti-gas gangrene serum by the passive immunization, and you can give also the active immunization by the alum precipitate toxide in the injection, just like the tetanus toxide. We give that patient to prophylaxis for the tetanus. So for the gas gangrene, that APT is also is coming. So you can also use this. And these are the prophylaxis tests for to develop the gas gangrene. Okay, and now if you have that established case of the gas gangrene, then you have the patient is, or the gas gangrene is already developed. Okay, so here how you can how you going to tackle this, that here early and adequate surgery is the first and the most effective means of the treatment of the gas gangrene. Okay, means don't go for conservative treatment, and don't wait for conservative treatment, because if you have the established case of the gas gangrene, then you have to act aggressively, because it is very fatal condition. It is spread very fastly, and it spreads in the very fastly to one part of the body to the other part of body, and soon your patient may go into septic shock and have the multi-organ failures. So that don't wait for the conservative. Okay, and go, the surgery is the most effective and first step you have to take. So what kind of surgery you have to do? First, where the gas gangrene is developed, that part you must explore that part completely. You can see in my screen there is the limbs, here is the thigh, and here is the upper limb. Okay, here the gas gangrene is developed. So explore it, complete explore that tissue, that muscles, all that inside that fascia, all that. So what about the that gas is developed inside, so you have by the opening you are decompressing that gas, and you do decompression this collections, and you are completely draining that tissue. So this is the first measure you have to take if you have the patient of the gas gangrene. Okay, so As this you can see that the decompression and draining urgently required. And next step, the aggressive surgical debridement to remove the all devitalized tissues should be done. Means after opening whatever tissue, muscles, fascia, bone, all the, if there is dead tissue, you have to remove all that complete all that dead tissue from that part to stop that further development of that gas gangrene, because we have already told that gas gangrene, that bacteria clostridium is developed only in the dead tissue. So if you don't have the dead tissue, bacteria cannot grow. And you just identify the healthy muscles on the basis of their color and their contractility and bleeding capacity. Means bleeding capability means if you are opening at muscles and it is bleeding, it means bleeding is a good sign. It means that part is vitalized, the blood supply is intact, so this part is healthy. Okay. And if somebody has developed gas gangrene in the complete limbs, okay, and it is rapidly spreading, so in that part you have to amputate the complete limb to save the life of the patient. Okay, so here we are doing the amputation to save the life of the patients. Okay, understand?
Yes, sir.
So there is some support along with that surgery. There is some supportive measure you have to take for that in case of the gas gangrene. That are the high dose of adequate and advanced adequate antibiotics with the IV route. Okay, and if the patient requires the blood transfusion, means in that case your patient may be in a shock. Okay, and that shock may be the hypovolemic shock. Due to that you are opening, you may have lot of the blood loss. So along with other that hypovolemic shock, your patient is losing blood during the surgery, so you have to do the blood transfusion and anti-gas uh, gas gangrene syrup and hyperbaric oxygen, means that oxygens which is very high concentration of the oxygen, that the gas you have to give the patients. Okay, means little bit higher than normally used oxygen. So patient get more and more oxygen, so the tissue will more oxidized, so that inhibit the growing of that clostridium bacteria that grow in the dead tissue only. So these are the supportive measures. Okay, you have to take along with that surgery. So this is the treatment of the gas gangrene. So here our topic is that of gas gangrene is uh, finished. But here one more topic I want to discuss you, that is the gangrene in the diabetic patients. Okay, and it is why I'm discussing this. This is not in the syllabus also, but I want to discuss this because this is nowadays this is very common that diabetic patient develops that gangrene in their limbs, or in that the pressure areas with the diabetic chronic uncontrolled diabetic patient is going uh, for the bed return, or having any surgery or any condition where he is lying in the bed for longer time, then he may develop the bed sores. That means that gangrenes is easily developed in the diabetic uncontrolled diabetic patients. So there are the three main reasons why the diabetic patients are developing the gangrene. The first thing is there, because of having higher glucose level. I'm asking that the every diabetic patient is not having the gangrene. The patient which are having uncontrolled diabetes, that are uh, developing to that are more susceptible to develop the gangrene, which are having uncontrolled diabetes. Okay, so the three reasons are why the diabetic patients are most liable to develop that gangrene. First thing, their blood glucose level is very high, that they provide the favorable environment for the development of the bacteria. And so that body resistance is very low in that patient, so the diabetic patient get easily infected by any kind of bacteria that may later develop the gangrene. So first thing, their body has low resistance due to high glucose concentrations. And second thing, mostly develop in that patients of the chronic diabetes patient. Chronic diabetic patient means old diabetic patients that they have developed the atherosclerosis and atheroma. So due to the development of atherosclerosis and scleroma, the distal part are having not enough blood circulations. So that the development of the atherosclerosis. So you know that atherosclerosis is developed in any patient, then that patient is always on the risk of the development of that ganglion, because of that blood supply is less in that distal parts. Okay, and these type of diabetic patients also have the risk of development of that due to atherosclerosis in the cerebral tissue, the cerebral stroke, the rupture of the small vessels. This is very common at the diabetic patient, or more liable to develop that cerebral stroke in the old ages. Okay, so and other the third thing is the development of the diabetic neuropathy. If the patients have had uncontrolled diabetes and higher glucose level for the longer times, then he or she may start that neuropathy in his peripheral nerves. So he or she may not that due to loss of the sensory nerves, he or she may not identify the trauma easily. Okay, it means the patient may get the trauma and he are not aware of that. Okay, so he just give the continuous trauma, he is that part, and he or she may develop the gangrene wound, and that may lead to the development of the gangrene. Okay, so the diabetic neuropathy is very important part in the diabetic foot and the diabetic gangrene, because patient is not having proper sensation in his distal limbs, distal area of the limbs. So he or me get easily traumatized without knowing. So that may develop that wound, and that leads to, once the wounds develop, then because of diabetes, so it spread very fastly. So there are two kind of diabetes, diabetic gangrenes are there: dry gangrene and moist gangrene. So here you have to understand that dry gangrene is mostly developed in the older patients, because the two important things which are responsible for the development of gangrene. First is the occlusion of the arteries, means occlusion of the blood supply, and second in the infections. So in the old patient, occlusion is more common and infection is less common. So that's why the older patient gets the dry gangrene more, and the young diabetic patients, in the young diabetic patients, that infection is more severe than the obstructions. So these patients get the wet gangrene. Okay, so moist gangrene or wet gangrene more common in the young diabetic patients, and that uh, dry gangrene is more common in the old diabetic patients. So now, what is the treatment principle of that managing that uh, the diabetic gangrene? The principle of management of diabetic gangrene is, first, if the condition is not very severe, then you must go for the conservative approach. Okay, so conservative approach means you ask the patient to control his or her diabetic condition, means that blood glucose level. Okay, so control of diabetes is very important. If patient can control the diabetes, then if there's very much chance he or she may not develop that gangrene. So control of the diabetes, and one thing, care of the foot, that is very important in the, especially in the older patients. Care of the foot is very important. So what are the care of foot includes, we already discussed in that detail section, that the patient should have uh, proper take care of his foot. How they can take care of foot means they just because they may develop that they have developed the peripheral neuropathy. Okay, so they must always aware that their foot may not get easily any kind of the trauma. Okay, and if you are the cutting their nails, then they will be they should be very uh, they should be very careful that they are not injuring any part. Okay, and that patient must have to uh, expose their limbs to the very hot or very cold environment. Okay, because both conditions are the dangerous and they can develop the gangrene. So patient should avoid to expose this their foot to the extreme cold or the extreme hot. And patient should always wear the stockings, elastic stockings, to uh, to safeguard their peripheral part. Okay, to exposing in the colds. Okay, and next thing is that patient has to reduce the exercise. Means they, because diabetic patient, the doctor told you to do exercise na. So sometime take sometimes some few patients are doing so much walking, so much exercise up to 10 kilometer, 5 kilometer. No, this is not required. This is not good for the patients of the diabetic who are liable to develop to the diabetic foot. They should not do so much exercise, especially older patients. So they have to reduce the exercise, and they have to stop in the female patient. They have to stop that high heel footwear, so their calf muscles are not very stressed. Why I'm saying that? Because when you do exercise, then the tissue demands more oxygen, and because of the atherosclerosis, tissue is not getting the oxygen, because here the supply demand is ratio is increased, and the tissue require more supply. The demand is more, and the supply is less. So because of atherosclerosis, so that's why the exercise should be there, but they have to avoid the excessive exercise. Okay, so and one thing, that pressure part, they have to take care of that area where they are developing the pressures. Okay, so means that malleoli, their malleoli and their bony parts, malleolus, heels, they have to take care of that, especially if the patient is bedridden. Okay, so the attendant should be take care of that part, so that they may not develop that ulcers in that part. Okay, so these are the few things uh, which are means which you have to keep in mind if you are treating the patient of the diabetic gangrene. And the surgical management, these are the conservative management. The surgical management includes that if the diabetic patients have the gangrene, so you, by the surgery, you have to do the same, just what you do in every kind of the gangrene. You have to complete excise all the dead tissue. Okay, and if it require amputation, you have to do it amputation. Okay, and one thing regarding the amputation, I want to tell you, if your patient's having a dry gangrene. Okay, and then sometime, uh, because dry gangrene is not spreading it in a suppose the patient have a dry in the single toe, so you can wait for few weeks, because sometime R2 amputation. What is auto amputation means? That body develops some body responded at that, just like that, if a plant having leaves and or the fruits which is ripe, so it drop itself. Okay, so here the same body drop that, auto amputate uh, that toe or the finger. Sometimes it develop the collateral supply at the base of that finger, and it will auto amputate by minor trauma or sometime itself also. Patient has told that it fell itself. Okay, so if your patient have a single if you have a gangrenous toes, then you can wait for few and dry gangrene is there, then you can wait for few weeks, 4 to 5 weeks. If it is not auto amputate, then you amputate surgically. Okay, so these are that these things, and to which are take care if your patient have the diabetic gangrene. So if anybody has questions, you can ask the questions now.
सर डायबिटिक गैंग्रीन में सर मतलब गैस गैंग्रीन होगा कि नहीं सर?
हो सकता है।
हाँ सर।
देखिए गैस गैंग्रीन तो एनीवेयर जहाँ पे if your wound is contaminated with that clostridium infection.
हाँ सर।
Okay, वो soil में mostly होता है। If your wound is infected with the contaminated with the soil, then most likely your patient can develop the gas gangrene. Even after the patient that is not means contaminated, if anyhow that clostridium bacteria is there, then they can develop that gas gangrene in any kind of the wound.
Okay sir.
That's why you have to anticipate that your patient may or may not develop the gas gangrene, so you can give the prophylaxis treatment on it.
Sir.
Yes, who are you?
Sir, sir auto amputation सिर्फ डायबिटिक पेशेंट में ही होता है क्या सर?
हाँ, डायबिटिक पेशेंट में हो जाता है ऑटो एम्पुटेशन, बिकॉज लॉन्ग स्टैंडिंग केस होते हैं। बाकी केस में नहीं होता है। डायबिटिक गैंग्रीन में कभी-कभी हो जाता है, क्योंकि वो ओल्ड एज पेशेंट इज ओल्ड एज, डायबिटिक न्यूरोपैथी हो गई है, पेरिफेरल न्यूरोपैथी हो गई है, एंड पेशेंट द सेंसरी मींस सेंसिटिवनेस ऑफ सो मच एक्टिव इन द पेरिफेरल एरियाज, and atherosclerosis is there. So slowly is all the process slow process so in that process patient sensory system is not very much active in the peripheral parts, so with the minor trauma that limbs maybe that finger may be amputated itself.
Okay sir.
Any other? बहुत कम लोग हैं आज। Why? Mufidul?
Yes sir.
You have any question?
No sir.
No? Very good. Okay. So we can end our today lecture. So next lecture we discuss a very small topic, hemorrhage and blood transfusion. Okay. If you have any question, you can ask later on the that WhatsApp group. Okay. तो आप लोग पढ़ रहे हैं ना अभी, मतलब घर पे कुछ नोट्स बनाना शुरू किया अभी कि सिर्फ बोलने पे ही बना रहे हो?
बना रहे हैं सर।
बाकी कौन सी सब्जेक्ट में ठीक ठाक पढ़ाई हो रही है? व्हाट अबाउट सलाख्या?
सर सलाख्या मैम ने पीपीटी भेजा